Welcome to Chasing Legends of Superstition Mountains. I'm Wayne Tuttle, and cue the music. Welcome back to Chasing Legends. I'm Wayne Tuttle. I'll be your host there this afternoon, this evening, this morning, whenever you choose to watch us. First of all, thank you everyone. We hit over 100,000 views on episode 2 from the season 2. Fish Creek Canyon, I believe, was that episode, and we're nearing that benchmark as well with episode 1. It's just a hair away from it. So thank you to everybody. No bots involved here. We haven't been putting out a bunch of money marketing and doing this to actually allow it to grow its own way and allow people to come in here and kind of find it and search and go through. So thank you everybody, because we wanted to do it the most honest way possible, and we definitely do feel the love for making these benchmarks over the show. As we're doing that, I'm sure everybody will notice I'm proudly wearing one of our Legend of the Superstition Mountain t-shirts. The new one's available on represent.com. Kind of cool. We got a nice special deal running with that and the Rendezvous shirts, and we will be coming out with a different color scheme available here shortly, kind of give something else. So this week, what do I want to talk about? Well, one of the things I do is I always look at the comments, and I get emails and I get messages and people throw things, and I kind of pay attention, and I got several different comments and mentions from different people over the videos, because we're always monitoring everything, and they said ghosts, and there was more ghosts and ghosts. And my position on this sort of thing, I think I've made it kind of, people should be aware. But I thought, you know what the public wants, public should get. So today we're going to kind of move ourselves from the Superstition Mountains down to the downtown Phoenix, to the San Carlos Hotel. Now this takes place probably 2003, 2004. I was asked to go with a group to the San Carlos Hotel. They were doing a kind of one of these paranormal investigations. Remember when the word paranormal was the occult? And then suddenly they found out they could market it in psychics, and they wanted to make it very friendly. And paranormal is such a more friendly word to use when you're talking about that stuff. So it kind of traversed, and paranormal studies and all this. And even back then, pretty much a lot of the stuff they're using now is the same stuff they were kind of doing then. So I went down, and the San Carlos Hotel has supposedly, let's all say supposedly, or has a history, and I'm not going to say documented, but they have people that write things in books that have been guests there and all this stuff, supposedly. So I go down. I know there was a couple that was doing an investigation that were taking part in this. There was 5 of us, there's 4 other people, and then I was joining. And then there was, I thought it's either 2 or 3 ladies. They were probably in their 40s. And then there was a pair of guys with this other woman, and they were doing their own. And everybody had their little equipment and stuff. And I brought with me, I had a camcorder that did actually work to night vision. So I brought that. I had a DAT, small DAT recorder, digital audio tape, and I also had a normal, just regular analog tape recorder that I could use. So I was going to use these 2 little devices and stuff. Thought I would get in the spirit of things, no pun intended, and kind of go through this. So we get there, everybody's talking, kind of hearing, I was kind of like staying back out of the conversation. I consider myself neutral in that sort of thing, not a skeptic. I think that's what people who are into the paranormal like to do, is everybody that doesn't believe is a non-believer skeptic. I was just, okay, I'm kind of neutral on this, kind of show me something, let me see something I can't explain. First thing that happens, we're all going to go, and they tell us we're going to go to like the 4th, 5th floor, 6th floor or something. And they said, don't use the elevator, because the elevators, they set this whole thing up like the elevator, there's something wrong with the elevator, and it does whatever its mind takes it to, and you don't know what's going to happen when you're in it. And there was like 4 or 5 of us got in the elevator, because we're like, yeah, whatever, I don't want to climb all the stairs, 4 or 5 flights. So we got in, and the door just shut. And we're all like, oh. And the first thing that goes, and then the door shuts and it goes, nothing happens. And we're just looking at each other. No one's pushed a button, we haven't done anything. And then it suddenly rises, the buttons never move, never do anything, we never light up, and then the doors open and we find ourselves on the floor where all the people are at now. They're all starting to come up the top of the stairs. And we all looked at each other and thought, that's weird. And then the weirdest thing happened. All of us started thinking, we've been set up. Because they told us the story and not to get on the elevator. We got on it, we never touched anything, and then it does all this quirky stuff, and then it shows up on the floor we're supposed to be just by itself. So we all kind of had a laugh at that and thought, maybe we're going to get played on this stuff by the hotel. So we got there in that first corridor and people kind of split off. I know there was one section, there's supposed to be some story about some tower or suite at the top or something, and they had the stairs closed off and they made a big deal about it. And I know a couple people just kind of decided to agree, and they took some stuff and they peeled off and went up there when nobody was looking. And it was kind of known, but like nobody really knows what happens to them, so they could disappear and see what was up there and see what's going on. The rest of us were in, it was like a T-shaped hallway, and one end is a window, the other end there's a doorway going out, and then the long part, the stem of the T, went down to a big giant mirror framed in like gold leaf. And the first thing I realized is there was a huge problem of they had metal fixtures everywhere, mirrors, paintings with like gold leaf on them, windows, and really bright lighting in the hallways. And it was like being in a fun house. It was the fun house effect because everything gave a reflection of everything else, and it kind of gave you kind of like, well, it was just overwhelming feeling. And we were kind of looking at that and all that, and that was the sense I got, and a few other people were saying, you know, like, what was that? You know, and it's like, well, it's, you know, every time all of us, anybody moved, you would see out of the corner of your eye some movement because it was reflecting or doing something causing the lighting. So we're all kind of a little disappointed in that. It was like we're just standing in the hallways and stuff. What are we doing? And all the lights are on. So we get down there was a couple rooms opened. Supposedly one of them, I remember the faucets turned on, and we turned the faucets. And to note for later, I realized there's not a lot of great water pressure here. It's an older building, so I figured that kind of is part of it. And I was kind of like, huh, but we were like looking at it, and they weren't that hard to turn, but not that easy to turn, and we're kind of like, okay, and they have the old little spigot, or not the spigot, but the knobs on them. And we're looking at, I think one of the rooms Elvis or Marilyn Monroe or someone was supposedly in, and we were kind of in there, and people did EVPs and stuff, and then there was supposed to be something out by the pool. We got to the floor where the pool's supposed to be at, and went out there, and I spent some time there because there's supposed to be someone that shows up there or something. And you can, you know, when you're even in the building, you hear the traffic and stuff from downtown Phoenix, but when you're out by the pool area, you can hear people 5, 6, 7 floors or whatever it is downstairs talking, walking down the sidewalks. You can hear all this noise. You can hear noise from the alleyways. So we're thinking, God, how much noise, how dirty it is. So at this point, it's kind of like, I don't think anybody was overly thrilled. Of course, there's people that are into this stuff that just love, their adrenaline's up. They're probably imagining everything possible. So I'm filming where I can, taking pictures, and I didn't see any reason to run much audio. I tried to, you know, when we were in the room and when we were out by the pool, but it's so noisy out by the pool, I figured I don't know what we're going to pick up, because you know, you probably wouldn't be able to discern a voice down the street from something else. So I'm doing what I can, and I'm kind of behaving myself to some extent. But I'm kind of I'm feeling kind of like, yeah, I'm not getting this too much. So then we're supposed to go to the basement, and everybody started jumping in the elevator that's haunted and goes and does what it wants, and go to the basement, and we get in it, and it doesn't do anything. Then it goes down so many floors, it stops. It doesn't do anything. Then it goes to the bottom. At this point, I'm just thinking, I don't know if the elevator is just really that great. And we get out, and the basement is cool. Now, the basement area has got the flickering light bulbs, and it's got little passageways, and it's like a little maze going through there, and there's dead ends, and there's stuff that turn you around, and you don't know which way you're coming back to. And there's all this cool stuff and stuff. There's all storage, and there's this, and like I said, there's dead ends. It's dingy, and it's dark, and it's damp smelling. So I'm thinking, okay, cool, this is cool. Plus, I can finally start, there wasn't very much lighting, the flickering lighting and stuff that was there. There was a lot of sections that were really dark. So I thought, okay, I can use the night vision. So we start walking around, and they're doing EVPs and stuff. And the coolest thing I find, the first really cool thing is there's this cage, and it looks like some sort of cage where you keep evidence. And in it, there must be 75 beat up old broken televisions. Like, I don't know what size screen, 19-inch screen. It's this room just piled with televisions. And it looks like some sort of weird modern art thing. And I got a picture of it somewhere. But it was just like, wow, that's kind of like totally weird, creepy, and kind of odd for some reasons. They just store all the broken TVs in this little caged room. And of course, why don't you throw them out? Why are they in there? It's like, what's the deal? So we're walking around, and then becomes, so far at this point, everybody's thinking it's cool. I brought this camera, and everybody was in, because I bought the camera. I didn't know it had night vision, but I discovered it after I'd purchased it. So everybody's really impressed with the camera because they want to see the viewfinder, kind of what everything looks like, because it was neat. And like I said, 2003, 2004, you're not seeing this a lot. So we're kind of working around, and we look over, and there's a pipe. And the pipe has to be about this big around. It's a good-sized pipe. And it goes from the floor, down in the floor, up, and into the ceiling. And the floor in places is dirt, in other areas it was concrete. That was another thing. So you're getting dust motes and stuff, but it has that damp feeling. And someone was telling the story that supposedly there was an Indian spring or something at this site originally, and all this stuff. And I'm looking at the pipe. And while we're doing this, those women that were there together, and start hugging the pipe. And they're like embracing the pipe, and then they start chanting and holding hands and chanting with the pipe. And they're talking about they can feel the rush of the water, and you can feel the flow of energies and all this. And then other people are kind of talking like, oh, you can feel the energy around this, the air's different, and I didn't see any, I didn't feel any sense. So I'm looking at it, and I walk over, and I filmed a little of them, but it was kind of like creepy a little, because they're acting up. And I walk up, and I look at them, and I'm looking at the pipe, and I'm thinking, if the pipe's going, the water's running from underground up, one, that's an incredible amount of pressure if they can hear the water moving through the pipe going up. I'm thinking, what kind of pressure does it take? It has to be running constant. And I'm just trying to do the math in my head about this because the water pressure upstairs wasn't that great. And I'm thinking, where's this water going? And what's going on with this? And it goes right up into where the lobby kind of area was, or the kitchens. And I'm just looking at it, and I'm thinking about it. And then I thought, well, how do we know the water's going up? Maybe the water's coming down. And I wasn't really thinking of being funny, but I said, I think the probability, and I say this out loud, the probability is this is more likely this is draining from the building, and it's a sewer pipe, and it's not actually a water pipe. I don't know if I buy the spring thing, and I went over and put my hand on it, and it's such a heavy pipe, you can't tell anything's going on. And there's people listening to it, and they're saying, well, I can hear something going through. And I said, it's more likely that that's someone flushing toilets or letting water out of drains, and what you're hearing is the water coming down the pipe. And a couple people looked at me and nodded and said, you know what, that makes more sense. But no one wants to talk about it then. And I'm kind of sitting there thinking, yeah, there's a good chance you've been like encircling your hands and hugging the pipe. And chanting to the great whatever source of feces running down through the pipe. And I realize as I start to mention this, and I thought it was funny, that no one else found this funny because these people take this very seriously. Remember, they have their own little meters and stuff, and if you've met any of these people, they take things that you know what their common usage is for, and then they manipulate them, and manipulation is the right word, but they recalibrate them to sense things that we don't understand, and then they act like it's too complicated. And I go, well, I know how that works and how it's supposed to work, and I know what it's supposed to be for, and the purpose you're using for. I don't know how you realize why, and that gets you in trouble too. So when you go with these people, don't do that. Don't talk about feces pipes, and don't talk about the calibration. So we get done with that, and at that point, nobody's talking to me because I'm not fun anymore. Before I'm joking around, and if I ever, we should someday put the footage up of this because I have the actual film footage. People are not amused by my jokes or my cracks anymore. They're actually kind of like irritated with me because pointing out that they were, I don't know, what would you say, praying, chanting to human excrement in a pipe. And I found it, a couple other people I know found it amusing, you know, but it wasn't generally. And when they were kissing the pipe, that was weird too, because I was thinking, okay, it couldn't come through, but the pipe was filthy. So we go outside, and the last part of what we're supposed to do is outside, and we go across the street, we're looking up this window. And supposedly there's somebody up there watching the hallway, and we're down there, and there was supposedly someone committed suicide. And you can see the person pacing in the room, and there's no one in the room, and you'll see the person pace across the windows. And we're all trying to figure out which window, so everybody's doing the counting, and okay, up there, and it's this window here. And we're all trying to focus, and people are trying to film it. And I don't know if I filmed that, but it was really funny because you could see someone, you could see something shadowy by the window, and everybody's like suddenly, ooh, and it's loud. I think it's on Central. Is it on Central or like 3rd Ave or something, whatever it's on. We're standing there on the east side of the street looking up because you couldn't see it if you stood on the side of the street of the hotel. You wouldn't be able to see really straight up and see it. So we're standing across the street. People got, you know, cameras on camcorders, and they're taking pictures, and we're watching it, and I'm watching it, and I'm thinking, do we have the right room? And I can't say nothing because I'm already like, I'm a bad person. And I'm wondering, is it actually an empty room? And I'm looking at it, and when nobody has a radio, and back then there were really, cell phones were just really coming out. Nobody's thinking of calling the people in there and saying, are you sure there's nobody in there? I mean, if you knock on the door, they're really gonna answer. And you kind of feel like, so the end of the night finishes with, suddenly the window opens in the room, and everybody like goes, people are like, oh my God, oh my God, oh my, get a picture of this, get a picture of this. Because they can't believe you're gonna see the woman, the ghostly woman, open the window and jump. And there's a woman there, and she opens the window, takes one last puff, flicks her cigarette out the window, which trails down to the street and bounces off the street. She shuts the window, pulls the drapes, and then I, of course, have to say, well, I guess that's that. And somebody turned to me and gave me a big F you and walked off. So, you know, when people say more ghosts, I spent 5 hours, 6 hours there. I have all this footage, all this audio. I went through it all. I refused to give it to the other people because there was nothing on it. And I was so scared that I know as someone that can record, it's so easily to multi-track something in. And I thought, oh my God, there's so much noise, so much going on here. It'd be so easy to drop stuff into this. And with the lights and stuff, there really isn't anything on the video footage, but with us moving around and so much stuff, it'd be so easy to drop something in on that. And this is back early 2000s. Nowadays, you could do it so seamlessly, even the video. So I really didn't want to give it up. It's archived, I got it stuck somewhere, but that was kind of like one of the, not the earliest I'd done, but it was one of the great ghost investigations, like I said, with 3 or 4 different groups. Now, just so people understand, we have something similar set up, and I will behave myself, but there's a couple little things we want to investigate. And Frank and I are looking at it more from the psychology side of things that happen, and we want to take, and we've got a hold of a couple different groups, and they're paranormal people, and we're trying to make sure it's okay, and when the weather's right, we want to go out with them, to have them do what they do. And we want to participate. Well, we want to film and do what we do and stand back and kind of observe and watch and then be able to look at what they're doing and film at the same time. So if you're saying, oh, look at these voices, we want to point out, well, what voices? We want to be able to basically make sure it's clean and right. Now, there's been groups that have done a couple of these areas before, and we don't want to say, oh, you guys are full. You know, we want to point out and for real show people how this stuff, how people operate on it, but then show if you're just come in and try to do things from the scientific side, principle, factual side, how it so often doesn't work. You know, there's an entertainment quotient. Now remember, I worked with the production crew and the channel that brought you stuff like Paranormal State, Ghost Hunters International, let's see, what was the other one? Ghost Mine, and there's a few others. And so I worked with so many crews and people and producers and stuff that were involved in these paranormal shows. And I've heard 1,001 stories, and that did nothing for me being more of a believer. But at the same token, I understand the entertainment aspect. I loved Ghost Hunters till I went and filmed Legends. By the time I was done with Legends, it was hard for me to watch because I already kind of suggested it, but then hearing actual stories of what happened and what occurred sometimes on sites, it changed things for me. And I'm not necessarily whether things are real or not, it just changed things for me. Though I would like to say is that as far as the people involved in those programs, I never heard anything bad said about it. They liked them, they were great people. They said, you know, especially the guys on Ghost Hunters, said they were really great people to work with. They really enjoyed it, smart and great people. So there you go, Hotel San Carlos. Go out there, check in, spend a night in the Elvis Marilyn Monroe room and have a good time or whatever. Until the next time, and we'll be back, pick up a shirt, new Legend Superstition Mountains shirt. If not, pick up a Dutch Hunter Rendezvous shirt. Thank you for getting us over 100,000 on that episode too. And until the next time, I'm Wayne Tuttle. Take care and be good.